I didn't want him to go back that time because I had that premonition. I said, if you go this time, you won't come home.
My memories are tinged by sounds and smells. The sound of his army boots squeaking across the lounge room floor. The smell of hair tonic.
I don't know whether it was Stuart or Edward, one of them woke up at that particular moment in the morning, and that's when it happened. But the police came and I knew when the police came, I knew what it was.
The Catholic nuns from the local school accompanied the police when they came to our house in Williamtown. And while the police went inside, the Catholic nun took me aside and we walked around the front garden. And the phrase that they used to break the news to me was, "Your father won't be coming home." But as a young child, you don't find attention to that. You focus on what's near and now. It probably wasn't till I was a teenager that it really sunk in, when you were looking for that father figure in your life. When I went back to school a couple of days later, I always remember the Catholic nun met me at the gate and said, "Look, it's probably best if you don't talk about this with the other children. Don't raise it with them." And I now know that the reason for that was that it could have caused a confrontation in the schoolyard. And even when I was at school in later years in the 70s and 80s, it wasn't popular to talk about the Vietnam War and associate yourself with it. So you kept that internal.
I find when I go to reunions, some of them, it's taken them 30 years or more sometimes to come up and speak to me because they've always been too frightened to speak to me. And I say, well, don't feel like that, I don't, but they're all so good to me, the whole lot of them.
While I was there, I heard over the loudspeakers that the flags that were representing those that were killed in action were assembled, and those that wished to carry them should go up there and pick them up. And I went up there and I spied my father's plaque and flag, and a man was about to pick it up. And I said, "Excuse me, do you mind if I carry that one?" Because I knew him. And this bloke stood back and paused and said, "You knew him?" And I said, "I did." And he said, "Well, if you knew him, you should carry this." And I did. I carried it at the front of the march. But after that, I met many people who knew him as part of a 5th Battalion reunion. And then I discovered stories about him which I had never known. And I knew more about him from that than I ever did from my own family.
Still dream about him after 50 years. And I never remarried. I said I never would.